Hey, Casey, thank you so much for jumping on today. I know you're busy, so I'm glad that we were able to get you on the schedule and have you here. So, before we get into the nuts and bolts of what you're doing today, tell us like a general consensus of what you did getting up to where you're at today.
So, real estate has just always kind of been like my lifeblood. I just grew up fixing up houses with my dad, and it just turned into, let's see, I started way back when in early 2000s, when the real estate market was booming, before the big market crash. And when I lived in Southern California at the time, there were tons of new builds, all the way from Corona all the way out to, San Diego area. And I would spend all my free time as a college student driving out to see all of those. And that's when I realized like I want to be in real estate, doing something in some capacity. So I got my first real job doing public relations, and I would drive to Newport Beach, hour and a half every day, there and back. And I realized this sucks.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was crying, this is not what life is supposed to be like after college. And
no,
so I said, I'm done. So that job ended, and I became a real estate agent. And I was really young then. I looked young. So it was hard for me to get those, multi-million dollar or $1 million real estate listings because I looked like I was 12. So those 60-year-olds were like, I don't want this little girl selling my house for me. I'm a millionaire. So that was difficult. And I found my niche with investors and kind of helped them find flips. Since I had that kind of construction background with my dad, it was easy for me to identify how much houses cost to fix up, which ones would be good investments. And, they would use me and my gas and my time to run around and find places all the way from, LA to the desert. So I did that and loved it. And at the time I didn't understand creative financing, private money, any of that. And I was just like, wow, how are all of these investors buying houses cash from, like, because I was making the offers, right? How are they doing $1 million cash offers, fixing them up and flipping them? Like, where are they getting all this money? I didn't realize it probably wasn't just them,
yeah,
doing it at
yeah.
the time, even though they were the ones signing the contracts. But it got me interested in real estate. But it wasn't until we actually moved to Memphis that my husband and I started buying rental properties. So that's kind of how I got started in real estate, and started finding the success. And for me, gosh, I was a stay-at-home mom forever when we moved here, for the past 10 years, and I haven't had a real job since we moved here. Actually, since that one job I actually had, I quit, did real estate, never went back to a
No.
9 to 5. Thank
All
God I
right.
married somebody who did. Um, that because that life is not for me.
Yeah.
I got my own coaching business now, and I absolutely love it. But we came out here for real estate, and rental properties is now our way of life and where we've kind of found success.
Okay. So are you guys doing and we'll get into, kind of the agent life and then everything else, but are you guys doing your own purchases? Or are you guys doing, buying them through a turnkey company? How'd you do that building up your portfolio?
So we buy them ourselves. We're pretty slow. We don't have huge portfolio, but it's small but mighty. And my husband fixes up all the properties himself. We have every tool known to mankind from Home Depot and Lowe's in our garage. Don't even walk in there because you can't get through. You might trip and fall, might hurt yourself. If a bad guy ever comes to my house and comes to the garage, he will not make it to the front door. So that's a plus.
I think that's like every
um,
garage.
yeah, I know. Except you see my neighbor's garage is like pristine. Like they have everything lined up, and I'm like,
Really?
okay, like needs to find a tool, and we can't find it. Let's go buy a new one. Like
Yeah.
that's how disorganized we are.
Yeah.
Um, but I totally forgot now what question you asked. I got sidetracked.
So, before you got into garage flipping, no,
Yeah,
before
yeah.
you guys, like when you started out, was it? It sounds like its own portfolio, and then you
Mhm.
guys were buying one offs, and then
Yeah.
maybe two offs as you guys bought them. So, what did that look like? And then, kind of like as you built up, what did that look like closer to where you are now?
Right. So you did ask. I remember you asked about like turning. How do we buy them and stuff like that. So we bought them like grandma houses, one at a time, ones that need a lot of work, and we would go fix them up after my husband got off work on the weekends. We would spend time over there, putting that sweat equity into those properties. And my husband's a little more conservative than I am. So I would have done a cash out refinance, and he's like, no, because I want high cash flow. I don't want to work anymore. So that's kind of, I was like, okay, fine. So we did the sweat equity, kept, the properties the way they were, did not cash out refinance, and we just would save and do the next one. And a lot of people would see Memphis and go, oh my God, you guys must have tons of houses because they're so cheap. It's like, well,
Yeah.
have you been to Memphis? Have you seen the houses that you could get for, quote, so cheap? And that's when you realize that you don't want those. And sometimes the vanity metric of X amount of units looks good on paper and it looks good on the gram, but in real life, it's not so good when you see how the tenants treat the properties, your turnover rates, the amount of repairs you have to do after each turnover, and the fact that they're so affordable because they don't appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And so we buy properties in more investors would say A-class neighborhoods. I say A-class is a luxury home, gated community,
For sure.
So to me, a B-class is like a really nice entry-level neighborhood with, maybe 75% owner occupied. To me, that's a B-class. So we buy more expensive houses in B-class areas with tenants that are six-figure income earners, and I don't have to worry about it. And I'll get appreciation in those properties. My cash flow is good. And to me, that is, I self-manage. So it's much easier for me to handle that and makes it more enjoyable than tenants that, you want to kick out every 5 minutes because they get pit bulls or the house catches on fire or they have tires piled up on the side,
Yeah. Yeah, those are the rentals that are going to cash flow day one, but you're going to have a lot of problems, and you're going to have the cash flow day one, and that's where people are not factoring in all the challenges and headaches that come with it. The D class areas, C minus class areas are really going to have the issues. And I've had I've had a rental for 10 years, and the same lady's been in it since we bought it. And she, it's a B class area. It's about an hour east of where I live, and she takes care of it. She's like, hey, can I, fix up the garden, stuff like that. So those are the areas, like, even though cash flow wasn't great the first like 1 to 2 years, we did have cash flow. It's it's even better now, and we don't have, like, she'll fix things. She won't call because they need a new light bulb in the kitchen. So
Exactly.
so yeah, that's huge too. So okay, so let's talk about active versus passive. So you were doing your active, going out looking for properties. What'd you learn when you were doing that? Yeah, I know you said, like, you were fixing flipping with your dad and stuff like that. But what are the things that were really good takeaways that you utilized for your own portfolio?
I would say really understanding how much it costs to fix houses up, because a lot of people will buy a house and the success is based upon the amount of work that it needs. You can buy a house already fixed up at top market value, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but there's really no room for improvement. Like, it will take a while for that property to make more money, to be worth more, right? Or you can do forced equity and fix it up yourself. So a lot of people, especially those that are interested in the BRRRR method or wanting to, basically the BRRRR method, people don't want to fix it up and cash out refinance and need that money. They are really beholden to how much it costs to rehab. And a lot of people make the hugest mistakes by underestimating rehab costs, holding time, and also what it will rent for. I mean, what it will rent for and how much it costs to fix up, that's where you're going to go wrong with, and possibly go negative on the property or make a bad decision, are those two factors. So really understanding how much it costs to fix up a house, and making sure that you will really understand all aspects. Because, I mean, I have students in my program who want help, with the rehab aspect. And I'll say, well, what do you think it will cost to fix up X, Y, Z? And they'll be so off base, it's not even funny, because they have no experience fixing anything. And so when they get an estimate or a bid from a contractor, the contractor may, on accident or maybe on purpose, leave out certain parts of the process and come back later and say, oh, we have to do this and this too. Well,
Yeah.
me, I know that should have been included in advance, but that changes, it could be a $10,000 difference. And maybe now that makes the deal not so great. So I think that that's something that I've learned along the way is you have to be real accurate and understand. You don't have to be an expert rehabber, but at least know what needs to be fixed and know all the facets so that you can get an accurate quote from someone else if you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah, and the time frame, right? So, like, the holding
Yes,
costs of the
always
time
takes
frame.
longer.
Yeah, can like we did a deal, same area, an hour east of me, and the contractor said it was going to take 2 months, and it took six. And there was more. I mean, we were permitting a room, and we were doing some other stuff, and it was like right after 2020, so everything was exponentially longer. But yeah, that's another thing that you don't account for. Sometimes the holding costs that you're going to be paying each and every month until you finish out that project, not only the project repair costs as well.
Especially if you're having to borrow that repair money or borrow the money. Some people will have a hard money lender help them out with those repairs or the initial financing, and you're paying a high interest while you're waiting for that cash out refinance, and that will kill you. That will
Mhm.
just kill you. So personally, I'm not a big fan of that method unless you are, an experienced investor and you have your team in place and you know exactly what you're doing and you have the money to cover it just in case something goes wrong, because it can go wrong many times. I feel like it's just like those contingent offers that go back on the market because they have a high failure rate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, that, including having that good contractor, is gonna be huge, and sometimes you have a contractor for, and you could probably talk about this too, is, doing flips versus rentals. Like, you have a contractor that does flips, finish work is great, and then a contractor that's cheaper, licensed, and does rental work, because I have that contractor working on a project right now. Like, they're gonna be cheaper, I know it, by 20, $30,000, $40,000, and they're going to get it done a little bit slower, but it's within budget.
Yep, there are different types of contractors. So for me, if I'm looking online to buy a house off the MLS or even for students, whatever, and it's mostly done, right? It looks great inside. Nothing wrong with buying a rent ready house. Looks great inside. My first question is, okay, when's the last time this house sold? So I
Mm,
scroll right down to history. Is this a flip? Or was this an owner who fixed up their house before they sold it? Because those are two different types of contractors. You're going to get retail contractors, ones that are recommended on Facebook and the local city groups. Can someone help me tell me who can do my kitchen? Okay. You're getting like A quality, top of the line contractors that are going to charge you an arm and a leg, but they're going to do a freaking great job, right?
yeah.
Then you're going to get, there's like three kind of levels. Then you're going to get the flipping level, which is not grade A luxury home, doctors getting their kitchen done, rehab. There's different levels. And then you're going to get the rental, rent ready, get some guys in there to make it look good, slap some new caulking around the bathtub, clean it up, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
So there's different levels of contractors, and they're all going to charge you a different amount.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. They're going to charge you a different amount, and and depending on how much you work with them too, if you work with them on every single project, they're going to give you a preferred price as well. So all those things come into play. So building your portfolio and trying to get out the day-to-day 9 to 5 grind. And was that as soon as you started buying those properties, and were they all out in Memphis?
Yeah, so we're here now, and we bought near us because we lucked out, moved to an area that was a great rental market. Just happened to work out that way.
Okay. All right. So you guys started buying. How long ago did you guys start buying them?
2016 was the
Okay.
first one, and since we were on a single income, I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had three little kids, well, two at that time.
Yeah.
Since then, one more.
Okay.
We just kind of bought one a year and fixed it up and would rehab it, and that would take a lot of time because we would do it ourselves, and it would be three times longer than you think. So, oh, it's going to be two
Yeah.
months, turned out to be six. Sometimes it depends upon the job, but when you do it yourself and the houses are pretty cheap, it's not a lot to carry any of those holding costs. And you are saving a lot with doing it yourself and all that. It does help. But the last two rehabs we did this past year, I said, look, we have kids in middle school now, and we have sports and actual real homework. with them, and we can no longer go fix houses on the weekends
Yeah.
and after school. So we had to hire crews this time. And I do feel like that was one thing that's held us back from scaling, because we have all this cash sitting around, and it's like, well, we don't really have time to fix another house right now, even though we
Yeah.
could buy one.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so we have to, put the ego aside and pay the money to get someone else to do the work so we can buy more houses, because that's, not having the team. Well, we have the team now, but not wanting to hire a team, and wanting to wear all the hats, definitely has held us back in the past from scaling and buying more houses.
Yeah, I could see that too, is, not having the right people in a place. Like, I guess my next question is, when do you see putting in a property manager in a place? Do you see that in the next couple of years? I mean, because I think that's hand in hand of, having the people remodeling for you or doing at least small repair work to now putting in that property manager as well.
Yeah. So two things. One, if we ever move out of here, I'll probably hire a property manager once my tenants move out. I know I can manage from afar with the tenants I currently have, because I already have a crew. Like, I have an HVAC guy, I have a tree guy, I've got a handyman. I got all the people, like, for
Yeah, yeah,
texting, like besties too.
yeah.
So that's easy for me to give them a text and go do this, go do that. But with new tenants, I'd probably just finally then hire a property manager. But what I tried this last time, which has really helped out, was hiring a property manager just for like a local girl, like a local person, for just tenant placement. So
Okay.
really the day-to-day managing is easy. Like, I hardly talk to tenants, like, at all. I mean, my properties are great. They don't really have any repairs. There's no complaints. There's no problems. I'm really strict with my tenant qualifications. So the day-to-day is easy. So what takes the work is obviously any, tenant turnover repairs, but getting tenants in place, doing the showings, advertising, like barf. Like, I'm so tired of doing that. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm over that.
Yeah, you're like,
So I got someone to help me with that last time, and they charged like 1 month's worth of rent, and OMG, was that so worth it. I'm like, oh
yeah,
my God, this is now great, because I don't have to pay the 10% every month. I wouldn't have to pay that. I just give them 1 month's worth of rent, and they do all the work. And now I've got the tenant. I get to vet them and see if they're good or not. I show up, have them sign a lease agreement. Hi, my name is Casey. Here's where you send the money, and let me know if anything is wrong. Like, to
that's way
me,
better.
that would be my next step first, is just
Yeah.
trying to hire that tenant placement property manager. And then, yes, if I ever move, I will probably hire someone once I leave.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, you leaving the 9 to 5, getting and actually having the rentals, how long did that take? Did that take a couple years? Did that take you, quite some time?
So it was my husband that has a choice, since I've never really had a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's right. It's my husband that has the choice whether he wants to quit or not. And he could. He could
Okay.
quit if he wants to. We're only 40. He likes his job. He works with his best friend. So,
Okay.
but if he doesn't get the raise, he can give him the middle finger and not think twice. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's always the goal. Some people are so hot to, I'm going to quit when I'm, 22 years old. I'm like, really? Like, really? Let's
Yeah.
think about that. You really want to never work again when you're 22? That sounds really boring.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah. You got
all want
nothing
to
else
make
going.
money. We all want to make money, and people, can utilize their easy 9 to 5 income as leverage, as qualification to buy more properties. It's just, why wouldn't you want to do that? So, but as far as having the ability to do that, it's about cash flow, because you need income for the day to day. So if you can have high cash flowing properties, it doesn't take that many, to replace a regular income.
Mm,
And if you can buy properties that aren't super expensive and they can be paid off fairly quickly, you won't be paying the mortgage payment either. And so
yeah.
you'll get to keep all of the rental income minus maybe property manager, property taxes, and insurance. So, and we can't forget the one thing that I actually, such an idiot, had forgotten about for so long, was rental increases. Like, when I factored into my plan how many houses I needed or how much money I needed to quote retire, I forgot that my rental values the rents would go up. I just totally forgot about that until a couple of
Yeah.
years ago. I'm like, I totally forgot about rent raises. That's going to dramatically decrease the amount of properties that I need,
Yeah.
So I
100%.
think that's something cool people need to remember.
Yeah, I mean, definitely rent increases are going to help out quite a bit. And especially if you do them, there's a lot of investors that don't even do them. They say, oh, I won't do the, I'll have the tenants kind of do the repairs and I won't increase their rent. Which is crazy because ultimately you're going to look at that and then say, well, the property is going to be trash as soon as you take it back from them or you try to do some type of, movement of selling it. You got to redo the whole thing almost like a flip. So, um,
Mhm.
so those are, for you, increasing the rent and then actually doing the right repairs that need to be done when the tenant calls or, emails or texts you, however system it is in place that you guys have.
Yeah.
That's the better motion to go towards.
Yeah. I agree. We just do good repairs the first time and we don't Mickey Mouse anything. We just do it right. We put the money in up front to get it done quality and we have minimal issues down the road.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because you can run into a lot of deferred maintenance and stuff that's going to come up on, tenant transition to moving in a new tenant versus the old tenant. And there's a ton of other stuff. And then, it
Yeah.
really comes down to, not knowing what you should be getting for your rent, your, rental as well. So you
Right.
could lose out
And
a ton of money.
I know. And as far as like rent increases, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. And it depends on the tenant. And same with renewals. I will renew a tenant's lease agreement for a year if I really like them. If I do
Okay.
not like them or I'm concerned, I will just keep them on month to month. That way, just in case, I can say sayonara if I feel like it.
Yeah.
With rent increases, I will want the tenants to always feel like they are getting a deal because if they're getting a deal and they like me, then they're going to stay. And I will never raise rent to above or at market value, always slightly below. And I usually will do 2-year lease agreements and let them and not renew for maybe the first. So on the first renewal, it's been 2 years. I'll try if I like them for another 2 years, and I
Okay.
may not renew their rent. So that increase their rent. So that may be 4 years, right, of not increasing the rent.
Okay.
And then at that time, I'll say, look, we got to do a big rent increase. And they like, oh, I know we've been getting such a great deal. So with this last tenant was I said, look, I know you've been paying $925 and I haven't raised your rent in 4 years. It's a great tenants. Pay on
Yeah.
time. Never freaking hear from them. Never hear from
Yeah.
them. So it's definitely worth it. And then I say, but property taxes got reassessed, so they've gone up, and the rents in the area are about anywhere from 12 to 1,400 now for what you're getting.
Okay.
And so I'd say, so what can you guys do for rent? We need to do an increase. What can you do? Let me know. So
Yeah.
give them the power to say their rental increase, and they came back and said 1,200. So
No.
they asked for almost a $300 a month increase, and they were super happy. And really, the market rent was right at 1,200, but I was like, yeah, 12 to 14.
Yeah, I've never heard that strategy of actually putting the ball in their court to have them do that. And I do kind of what you do is if they go in for 2 years, I may or may not increase it in the 2 years. I have one tenant that I did a 3 year, lease with, and then I raised it. I think it was like $80 one year, and then $100, and then like $90. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of staggered, and she's still below rent on that. So
Yeah, I think as long as you're providing the best house and it's slightly below market, when they go, okay, well, let me think about it if we want to stay or go, and they go look around to see what else they can move into. If you're still the better deal, they don't want to move.
no.
They know you're a great landlord and that you fix things on time. And well, if the next person doesn't do that, and they're still getting below market and they don't have to move all their stuff. I mean, you want it to be a win-win situation.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. You definitely want it to be a win-win. And you don't want to have, a scenario where it's like the tenants will either hit you up all the time or will never hit you up. And then ultimately, the deferred maintenance, even though they're paying market value, the deferred maintenance really gets really bad, like a
Oh,
leak or
exactly.
something like that.
I just had a tenant. So when we bought this one house, it needed a new roof. I mean, it was old. Okay. It was so old. It had less than 5 years of life. And the insurance company is like, no. So I'm like, fine, I'll get another insurance company that's not going to check. So I did. And like, this roof is not leaking now. It's fine right now. So now this has been 6 years. So 6 years later, literally it's Friday, just a few days ago, the tenant texts me and goes, hey, there's a leak in the bathroom. I'm like, all right, we'll get a knife, poke a hole, time to replace the roof. Like I told her, as soon as you see any leak at all, let me know right away. We'll put on a new roof. Like I knew, like it looked great, but man, this thing is old. And I am not going to spend money for replacing it. A few $100 every time there's a new hole. Like it's time for a new roof. I'm adding value to my property, and it should have been done 6 years ago. So
Yeah.
they're putting a new roof on in 2 days, and it's a little 3-1. And man, roof prices have gone up. It's going to be like $6,000 to get a roof.
Oh my gosh, don't even talk about it. And there I got quoted for one of my rentals. It was we did so there's like a addition on the front house, and then there's a back 1-1 on it that's attached to the garage, but the front addition really needed it because it was a flat roof, and that was 3,500, and it was 300 square feet, and the whole thing, because they quoted the whole house and that back unit with the garage, 26 grand.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
a
looking
little bit
for
more
it in my
expensive.
house.
A little more expensive. Um,
Yeah.
so so what do you guys do talking about CapEx expenses when you're buying something? What are you factoring in for CapEx?
So it really depends per house. I know a lot of people will have like a general amount of money, but I'm like, okay, well, how long do I expect to own this house, first of all? And what are the CapEx items and what condition are they in? Because the CapEx items to me are a roof, driveway, air conditioner system. Other than that, I mean, there's no other CapEx expenses in my mind. And CapEx really they're in a different tax category because they add value to your house. So I love CapEx items because it increases the value of my property. If all
Yeah.
I had were repairs, like everything's leaking and breaking and falling apart, that's a negative. You don't want that. To me, I'm happy with CapEx because it's raising the value of my home. It's a great tax write-off. So when I think of how much am I going to take out, first of all, I don't do that. All I do is I look and see how old are these items? Am I going to be having to repair them in my ownership lifetime? If the roof and the HVAC, the driveway, then maybe the exterior fence, which may be huge, big, long border, I don't know. The expensive items that are going to cost a lot. Am I going to replace them in the next 15 years? If no, excellent. I'm not taking out for CapEx. I'm not going to have anything to fix.
Yeah.
And if they are, if they're going to need to be replaced anytime soon, I factor that into, well, I better save up. Usually 5,000 is kind of the max for any CapEx item for a regular single family. That's how much it's going to cost for an air conditioner or a roof, maybe a little bit more now, roof's gone up, and a driveway. But that's kind of it. So I know it's going to be about $5,000 for any major issue that I have. And so I'll just, make sure that I have that and know that if I have to pay it, I'm adding to the value of my house. It's no big deal. What I don't like are crappy jobs done by previous owners. And that is what's going to cost me money. So I do not like to buy houses that have been rentals before, because chances are those investors did not do as good a job fixing up things as I would. So I do not like to buy investment properties. If so, I have to go through with a fine tooth comb. And a lot of times you can't see what they did. Like I can't look at, behind the wall and look at the plumbing that they did. I can't look at the electrical in the wall. I can't see how they moved the washer and dryer. And if that's going to be a problem with how they did the angle of the drain line, like some things I just can't tell. So it's like, I don't really like to buy investor properties. But if it's been an owner occupied property for a long time, chances are, again, they got those A quality contractors to do work done the right way, and I'm not going to have any problems.
What about buying properties that are from investors that are flipped? I don't know your market in the sense of, so I mean, you're probably buying it obviously at a premium, but have you been or dabbled in that? Because some, as you know, some investors may, do it pretty janky, and then some may do it really nice. So, what's your thoughts on that? And have you done that?
So typically, no, I do
Okay.
not like to buy flips, and I kind of teach against that too. And I'm against it, but it's like, okay, you got to do due diligence, and unfortunately, you can't always do enough because again, you can't look inside the walls and see what they did. But to me, and I'm going to get so much hate on this because so many investors are flippers, but whatever, people that flip for money, like they're flipping to make a profit,
Yeah.
really. And so, what's important to them? A short time frame, getting completed on time, and making it look good. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of, turnkey companies too, and a lot of, investors who flip and they just do the minimum because they're selling the problem to somebody else. They're not selling it for them. And they're not going to put in the best quality bathtub. They're not going to put in the right plumbing parts. I mean, I had a guy, like, remember I told you I just had some guys had two different crews working on two different houses for me. One of them was an investor from my investor group. He was a friend. And I know he did flips from my other investor friends. Okay. But I hadn't seen his work in person, just online. But I was like, look, I'll give this guy a chance because he's kind of a new contractor. The guy didn't know north from south. Like, oh my God, he totally got fired. And I'm like, and he's yelling at me like I'm the idiot. I'm like, you don't even know how to seat a bathtub. I can't even talk to you right now. I mean, the guy did my bathroom twice. And he wasn't using a copper pipe behind the bathtub wall from it was so many things wrong. Now he does flips, right, for all my other investor friends. So guess who's gonna get those problems down the road? The poor homeowners, because this guy's just doing houses, just flipping them. He doesn't know what he's doing, but guess what they do? They look pretty. They look pretty on the outside. So I don't like flips because, usually they're not always new contractors, but flippers do them to make money, and they'll get the cheapest labor, and they'll want to hurry up. And a lot of times they'll give incentives for their guys to finish on time, and those guys are not being babysat. It's not the contractors so much fault. It's the guys are not being babysat, and they're cutting corners to get their bonus to finish on time, or, oh, no one's watching, I can cut a corner and do this or this. And you can't tell because it's going to get sheetrocked over or whatnot. So I'm not a big fan of buying flips. And you can tell the bad ones. You can really tell the bad ones when things don't line up in the house. Like we've all seen, like, those, what I call boob lights, those like they're two-pack and they come at Home Depot and they're $10 a piece. And they look like boobs, right? Somebody put one of those for a vanity light in the bathroom on the wall.
I'm not surprised. I got one. I went to show a property. This was last year, and there was a small, like probably this big, if I can get it in there, of a ceiling fan in the bathroom. A ceiling fan that was probably 24 inches wide, and I was like, "What is that?" There's no vent fan. There's nothing else.
What is that?
Yeah. So it was crazy.
So it's hard to tell the good ones from the bad ones because you can't see.
Yeah. So talk to me about some principles of brick by brick wealth, and what you teach and stuff like that. What are some things, especially let me put myself in the shoes of a new investor that's looking to, either get cash flow and keep my W-2 or get out of my W-2.
So the philosophy behind brick by brick wealth is that you can create wealth one brick at a time. There is so much instant gratification that people feel like they need out there. And it's, I'm going to get rich tomorrow. I'm going to get rich with other people's money. And I can be a broke loser with a bad credit score. And I'm going to be an investor in real estate. I call BS. I think that you need to have yourself in financial order. You need to be a respectable person that can do things like buy properties and do all the things necessary. And success is not overnight. It takes a long time. A lot of these people that are overnight success icons online, it's BS. They're not overnight success. It took a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights, a lot of failures, and they're making it appear as if it were easy and done in one day.
For sure.
So to me, I'm like, you can do this. You can be wealthy. You can find success in real estate one house at a time. Just takes one house at a time. Get the first house, understand all the concepts, all the to-dos, all the steps, understand every facet. Get your first rental property as a solid base hit, a great foundation for your real estate journey. And now that you know how to do it, you know what's all included and what you got to do, now you can go take some risks. Now you can go try creative financing. Now you can go use other people's money and all those things. But you have to start off with your first one, understand it, use your own money, and really understand how it all works. Be successful with your first one, and then you can fly on your own. Just takes one, and you start off with one at a time. Even one, a year, like we've done, has made a tremendous difference in our lifestyle. Just from the fact in the past 6 years, my husband can quit if he wants to tomorrow, is amazing. And we're a family of 5, and I haven't worked a real job. I have my coaching business now, but as far as a real job, I haven't worked one in 10 years, And so, there's people can throw out tons of excuses. I don't have any time. I don't have any money. I don't have this or that. Well, you can figure it out. I mean, when we moved here, again, single income. We bought a fixer-upper property. I had a brand new baby and a 2-year-old, and I wanted to buy real estate. And my husband says, ha, 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 we just bought a fixer-upper and moved across the country. Where are we getting down payment money from? And he's like, if you want to buy real estate, you're going to have to figure it out. And I'm like crying, well, I just don't have any family and no one here to help me. And I don't have a job and I don't want to go get one. So how can I make down payment money? Just cry about it and whine and complain? No. I went and started an Etsy business and I made crafts. I could do something.
Yeah.
I saved up for a down payment, and year and a half, I'd saved 20 grand and use that to buy rental property. And you just need one at a time, and the cash flow will start building itself up to where eventually your rental properties, the cash flow from them saves all by itself for another down payment. And at some point you stop contributing from your own 9 to 5 towards the rentals, and they purchase new ones on their own, from the cash flow. And that's really the goal. And it compounds and it's exponential as time goes on. So it does speed up, but it's not like Superman getting rich overnight right away. It takes a little bit of time first.
Yeah, I mean, I see the people that do it like you. It takes a little bit longer. The people that have 6,000 units or something like that, they're raising money from other people.
Correct.
They're not doing it solo. They're not ultimately putting those deals together by themselves. They have a pool of investors and they've built that as a business. And then they've bought real estate along the way, and they're small partners in it. It's not, a single partner like, you and your husband. So, that's when people say, I have 10,000 units, I have 20,000 units. That's what you're looking at. So, what's kind of the future for you guys as you guys move forward, especially, buying rentals and the coaching company?
So I think as far as rentals go, we still like our market that we have, buying those A/B rental properties that have nice 6-figure income tenants is what I like. And all the rich investors that I know, the old guys with millions of units, what do they do? The first thing that they say is they get rid of any D and C class properties. First thing they do, out.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. And what do? They go buy houses in Nashville. They go buy A-class properties because they are done with that. So, but yes, you need the C-class. I would never advise D-class to anybody ever in my life, but you need the C-class properties to start typically because they're more affordable. That's where you can get added value, and there's less financial risk there when the properties are cheaper. But as you grow, in my opinion, and you own them yourself, you're not a syndication or something like that, and you want to reduce your risk, you buy better and better properties, and you end up buying for appreciation and less for cash flow because you need less cash flow. You need more appreciation. You would like more write-offs. And when you get rich, you want write-offs. So it's not always about the cash flow, but it is for a lot of people in the beginning. They need money to pay the bills. They want to make ends meet. They want to retire. And so you need both things. You don't want a D class. Again, you want B, C class properties that provide some cash flow, but also in appreciating areas, because you don't want to go negative. You don't want your house to go down in value. Maybe one day you can cash out refinance, or you can get an equity line on that rental property and use that money for something else. But you have to start first with one to let time be on your side and let the property increase in value while you sleep. So it's like, don't wait for that apartment complex to go by. Just start off with something, get something, anything, a one single family, a duplex. Just get something that cash flows and appreciates, and start letting those tenants pay down your mortgage, because people go, oh, I'm only getting $300-400 a month cash flow. Well, let's back up here. You're not just getting that. You're also getting the whole $1,200 a month in rent. What you're getting is $1,200.
Yeah.
So all you're seeing is the net cash flow in your pocket. But are you forgetting that someone's paying your asset for you? Someone's paying your property taxes for you? Someone's paying your home insurance for you?
Yeah.
And your mortgage? They're paying for all of that. And you get some too? I mean, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah. And I don't think, I think people look at, talking about discouragement. I think people look at, like you said, $300 or $400, and they say $300 or $400. I live in California, or I live in, New York, or, an expensive place in the United States. And they say, well, that's
night out to eat.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. That's a night out to eat, or maybe that's, my gas bill for the month. Maybe not this past month, but that's my gas bill. So like the mindset needs to be changed. And I think that your prerogative on that could really, and I know it has already, changed people's mind to get to them and say, hey, you can get over this hump. Yeah, it's $300 or $400 now, but if you had 10 of them, that's 4,000, 3 or 4,000. And
Mhm.
a lot of people,
Exactly.
that can cover 75, 80% of what their, monthly expenses are.
Yep. And then eventually, don't forget when they're paid off, right? You're going to get all of that minus property
Yeah.
taxes, home insurance, and manager. But you'll get a lot more of that once those bills are paid off.
Yeah, for sure. I like what you're doing, especially with your coaching company, to be able to get people past. I think a lot of it's a mindset, and I think it's getting them past the mindset of it's only this. It's like no, it's this and all these other things that
Yeah, it's a
encompass.
foundation. And
Yeah,
people don't get started off in a syndication. They don't get started off being Grant
yeah,
Cardone. They get
yeah,
started off in the beginning. And that's what my coaching program, helps with.
yeah,
I'm not here to talk about it, but it helps people start off with their very first rental. And if people don't have experience buying real estate, and I have students that rent, a lot of them are California students, and they rent where they live, and they've never bought anything in their life. So not only they
mhm,
never bought anything in their life, now talk about buying out of state. Like what?
yeah,
And rehab and getting a property manager and making sure you buy in a good area and making sure your rent's accurate so that you're not going to like get screwed, mess up.
yeah,
So it's a lot. There's a lot of factors. So, my program or me really, I help them the whole way through personally, make sure that they're making all the right decisions. And I love it, because I get to help people find this freedom like, oh my God, I can find another avenue for income that I'm not having to work hourly for. Now I have the skills to buy out of state real estate, and we can work our day jobs at Google and Facebook, and we can go buy rental properties out of state. We can't own our own home here in California because it would be $3 million. But you mean I can take my $200,000 a year salary and buy several out of state properties? Whoa. I mean, life changing,
yeah,
to have the income that you make at work plus now income streams that can help supplement your income and eventually replace, with just one skill set, just understanding there's multiple things, but
yeah,
the idea of itself of buying real estate, fixing it up and getting it rented and understanding markets and how to do comps and all of that. Once you can do that, it's like, it's just mind blowing,
yeah.
that now you can make money without trading your time for it. It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's like you said, a foundation. You got to pave the way somewhere. And then you build legacy after that. It's then your whole family. We can go into that, but your whole family will ultimately benefit from it. So I have a few questions before I get you out of here. I know your
Okay.
time is precious. So one is, what book have you read either over the course of your investing career and or over the course of the last couple of years that's really changed your mindset?
So there's two books, and let's see, one if I can remember one of them. It is The Power of the Subconscious Mind or something like by Joseph Murphy. It's blue.
Okay.
That by far has been my most life-changing book I've ever read. And that's because and the second one is Think and Grow Rich, and I happen to have it right here. It looks like my daughter spilled water on it, but we all have heard of Think and Grow Rich. They're
Yeah.
both really good books. And the reason why these books are so powerful is because you realize you're not a victim,
Yeah.
and you can't play victim, and you can't blame anybody else for where you are in life. I mean, people can take that as a negative, but I take it as a positive because it's all up to me. Like, what? My
Yeah.
success is up to me? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not predicated upon my race, my gender, my socioeconomic status. No, it's all me. It's
Yeah.
my choice. I can do better or not. And I can't blame my dad for not helping me or my husband for not being supportive, whatever I mean he is, but
Yeah. Yeah.
in general. I can only blame me. And that means I have the power to change. And
Yeah.
it's all a belief system. And that's really what I've learned is, I've gotten all this universe stuff and, way beyond mindset. Like I'm kind of weird now. I got crystals.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is what I learned from these books is that it's all up to us. It's our belief system. If we believe we can have it, we just be in which we want to be who we want to be, act as if, and it will happen. If you want to be a rich person, What would a rich person do? How would they behave? What action steps would they take? And go do those things and watch your life transform.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned, really. It's from those books like that.
No, that's huge. And and I agree. I mean, I think it's like you said, kind of, the mindset, what you teach and everything else is something where it gives people power versus, takes it away. Um, what about in your business, either your business that you're active in or the passive real estate? What's an app or an online resource that you use that's been really beneficial?
An app or online business. Well, when it comes to real estate, analyzing rental properties, all those things, I don't like any apps because I feel like anytime you put your faith in some algorithm to determine an outcome for you that will depend upon your success is not something that I would advise to do.
Yeah.
So I do everything by myself. All my research is done with my own research. And I know some people like rental, like Stessa and those sorts of like property management sort of apps. But I feel like sometimes that's really unnecessary, especially
Yeah,
if you're just starting out. And you got a couple of properties, all you need is a spreadsheet. So
for sure.
I don't do any apps. If anything, I'll use Deal Check, and it's
Okay.
an app that helps analyze properties if I were on the go. And it's kind of great. So I guess I would use Deal Check as an app to run
Okay.
some property analysis through, just initially. But otherwise, I'm at home plugging away, doing my own comps and talking to real people in those neighborhoods and real property managers and other investors to get a feel for the neighborhood and rental estimates and talking to contractors to get ARVs. And I do not use things like Zestimate or Rentometer to find out my rental values. Like, absolutely not.
No.
Heck no.
No.
So everything I do is by hand. I don't feel like you need to have any tool. I think you can do it all by yourself with, Google Sheets.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think, some people get in the weeds on apps. They have, 50 apps, and then some people have, plain and simple. So, um, okay. So, where can people find out more about you, your course, and everything else?
So I am always on the Instagram. I think I live there. If Instagram had a house, there would be Brick by Brick Wealth. Casey Franchini would have a home. And so I'm on Instagram. It's at Brick by Brick Wealth. And you can also, I'm starting my YouTube channel back up, so you can find me
Okay.
there too. And my website, brickbybrickwealth.com. And you can always email me. I've always thrown out my email address. I get some emails, haven't got any spam yet. So Casey at brickbybrickwealth.com, and I
Okay.
will respond to you right away.
Okay, perfect. We'll put those in the show notes for everybody. But Casey, I want to be the first to appreciate you coming on the show. Sharing your knowledge, what you've learned from the active side of real estate to also the passive side, and what you're doing today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Peter.
Yeah. Talk to you soon.